Hi boys and girls, happy Cinco de Mayo. Today we are going to be reading about invasive animals. Before we get to our reading, let's take a look at this little video.
Invasive species. This Burmese python may seem like it's right at home, but in fact, it's in someone else's home. Burmese pythons now living in some parts of the United States are part of a growing problem here, the problem of invasive species. An invasive species is a plant or animal that moves into an area where it doesn't belong. Invasive species usually arrive at their new home by accident. They may come on cargo ships that travel around the world, for example. Some invaders are brought into an area on purpose, possibly to be sold as pets or food. One example is the beaver-like animal called the nutria. These creatures were brought to the U.S. from South America in the 1940s. Now, their population has multiplied out of control. The animals have eaten up the marsh plants in many swamps. This has caused big problems for the swamp's native animals. In the U.S., billions of dollars are spent each year to try to control invasive species. The Great Lakes region recently struggled against a creature that looks like an eel and is called the sea lamprey. Chemicals that kill the lamprey's larvae without affecting other fish were added to streams in the area. This method cost millions of dollars, but it's been successful in keeping the lamprey problem under control. Florida, too, has been fighting back against invasive species. It has more of these exotic invaders than any other area in America. Most recently, Nile crocodiles from Africa have been spotted on the loose there. They are much more dangerous than the American crocodiles that call Florida home. Thousands of other alien species threaten ecosystems in the U.S. To learn more, open your Scholastic magazine.
All right, boys and girls, we're going to read about the fish that's eating the world. It says right here, it says long fins that trap fish and other prey, needle-like spines that hold poisonous venom, and a stomach that extends up to a balloon up to 30 times its normal size. So let's read about this fish, okay? It has beautiful stripes that help lionfish blend into the coral reef. So this fish has lots of things that are helpful for it to continue to grow, but hurtful when it's in the wrong environment. Okay, let's look at this vocabulary. So the first word that we're looking at is insatiable, which is always wanting more and impossible to satisfy. The next word is native, living or growing naturally in a particular place. The next one is invaded, entered a place at a harmful way, often in large numbers. Coral is a hard material formed at the bottom of the sea by the skeletons of small creatures. And humanely is in a way that is kind or gentle to people or animals. Lionfish are taking over the Atlantic Ocean. Can these dangerous creatures be stopped before it's too late? By Mackenzie Caro. You move slowly with the confidence of a king. You destroy any animal that crosses your path. Your hunger is insatiable. You eat and eat and eat. You sneak up on your dinner until, bam, you swallow it whole. So what are you? A shark? A grizzly bear? A monster from a fairy tale? No, you're a lionfish. You're about the size of a football, and right now, you're causing big problems in our seas. Okay? So what we know so far, we know that they are the size of a football, that they're causing problems, and that they they have an insatiable hunger, and they prey on others in the ocean. Beautiful creatures. Lionfish are native to the warm waters of the Pacific and Indian Oceans, but in the past 30 years, they've invaded the Atlantic. Some lionfish now swim off the U.S. coast from North Carolina to Florida. Others live in the Caribbean Sea and the Gulf of Mexico. We can't be sure how lionfish got to the Atlantic, but humans are likely to blame. In the 1980s, American pet stores began selling baby lionfish. These creatures are beautiful. People wanted them for their home fish tanks, but lionfish are not suited for life in a fish tank. They eat the other fish, and they can grow up to be up to 18 inches in just a few years. Experts think people dumped their pets into the sea when the fish got too big. People probably thought it was okay to put lionfish into the Atlantic. The ocean is the ocean, right? Wrong. All right, pause and think. How did the lionfish likely end up in the Atlantic Ocean? So just like in the urban legends of the alligators in New York, okay, it was the people who disposed of them improperly. Total disaster. Lionfish are what is known as an invasive species. That's an animal or plant from one area that invades a new area and causes harm. Lionfish are changing the environment in the Atlantic Ocean. How? For one thing, they eat a lot of fish and shellfish. They eat 1 to 2 fish per minute, and they don't stop when they're full. Their stomachs balloon out to make room for more. Sometimes they eat until they make themselves sick. Lionfish don't leave much food for other fish. As a result, many fish in areas with a lot of lionfish could die out. All right, pause and think. And then what's an invasive species? Go back right here. It says an invasive species is one that goes from one area to a new area and causes harm. So not only is it a different type of animal in a different or person or thing in a different place, but there's also that harm factor. Okay. Coral reefs. There's another problem. Lionfish harm coral reefs. Coral reefs are long lines of coral that often lie in warm, shallow water. They provide food and shelter for millions of types of fish and plants. They protect coastlines during storms too. Lionfish like to live near coral reefs, and they're ruining an important balance. They eat the fish that usually eat sea plants called algae. As a result, there is too much algae on the coral reefs. Algae can damage the reefs and even kill them. This problem is hard to solve. So real quick before we turn, here are the locations. The purple areas on the small map show where lionfish have always been in the Pacific and Indian Oceans. The purple area in this map shows where they have been found in the Atlantic. So they're used to being in the Pacific, Indian Oceans, okay, on the other side of the world. And now they are here on the East Coast, right by us. All right, this problem is hard to solve. Lionfish breed quickly. A female can release 30,000 eggs every few days, so the number of lionfish in the Atlantic keeps growing. Okay, why is the number growing so quickly? Because they can reproduce very quickly. Not the first time. Lionfish aren't the first invasive species to cause problems. About 4,300 invasive species live in the U.S. Fish called Asian carp are in the Mississippi River. Millions of wild hogs run across Texas. The Burmese python has taken over a national park in Florida. These invaders can do real harm. In the 1880s, mongoose were brought to Hawaii to kill rats on farms, but they ate birds and turtles too. Now many of those species in Hawaii are in danger of dying out. Could lionfish cause the same sort of trouble in the Atlantic? Experts say yes. Pause and think. What did the mongooses do in Hawaii? Well, they were supposed to just kill rats, but instead they also ate birds and turtles. What can be done? Experts are working to solve the lionfish problem. They say there are things we can do to keep those fish under control. First, we make sure that no non-native pets like lionfish are released into the wild. Second, we can report lionfish sightings. The Reef Environmental Education Foundation has trained scuba divers to hunt lionfish. Anyone who spots a lionfish can tell Reef. Within 24 hours, divers will find and humanely kill the fish. And third, a tasty clam. We can eat them. In 2010, Reef put out a cookbook. It shows people how to prepare lionfish. Now people know that the fish can be tasty. They're even sold in some grocery stores. As for you, lionfish, we know it's not your fault that you're here. You're just a hungry fish looking for a meal, or several. Alright guys, what are some ways that we can keep the lionfish under control? Okay, we can make sure that we don't bring in non-native animals and release them to places, right? If we see any lionfish, we can report it to the reef and they'll get scuba divers to go hunt them. And you can also eat them. All right, boys and girls, let's take a look at this picture up here. It says, why do we need coral reefs? Look how beautiful. The coral reefs are like these things right here. Okay? Coral reefs are long lines of coral. Scientists say that up to 25% of all ocean life depends on coral reef. That's a lot. for their food and their shelter. But because of lionfish, many reefs in the Atlantic are being destroyed by sea plants called algae. Okay? All right. It says, we can see in here the algae is right here. All right, boys and girls, thanks for following along with me. Please complete the questions and make sure you hit submit. Have a great day.